I absolutely love this little Cabbage Patch hat with the pigtails and the little loopies for the bangs, and I wanted to adopt it for loom knitting. I've only ever seen it as a crochet pattern, so I worked on it and I am ready to show you how I made this on a loom. Let's get started. If you're not familiar with the basic loom hat, I do have a tutorial, the previous video. I would go back and familiarize myself with the basic hat because in this video, I'm going to move rather quickly through the basics and show you the stitches that are needed just to make this hat. To expedite the tutorial, I'm just going to use a very small loom. This is not one that I would use for a hat for even a baby or a newborn. This is more like American Girl size. So I do a double E-wrap for my cast on, meaning I made my slip knot to the left of the peg and then I wrap it twice and then I yarn over and I repeat that all the way around the loom until the entire loom has the yarn cast on. So double spin around twice and then yarn over. For the first part of the brim of the hat, I'm just going to use an E-wrap knit stitch. So wrapping it around and then looping it over from behind, wrapping it around and looping it over. And I'm going to complete 9 rows of the E-wrapped knit stitch. Like I said, I'm using a much smaller loom for brevity in the tutorial. So if you need to use a larger loom to make a larger hat for a newborn or even up to a toddler, who I think would look adorable in these hats, you'll need to adjust the number of rows that you're doing for the hat band as well as the number of loopy rows. 4 loopy rows give you about an inch, and that may be good enough on just about every hat size. You may want to increase that to maybe 5 loopy rows if you need a bigger hat. I just published a book on Amazon, and I have it available in my Etsy store as well for loom knitting. It's a loom knitting journal. Inside the journal, it has basic hat number of pegs and number of rows that you need for different hat sizes, as well as standard blanket sizes. It's a place to keep all of your loom knitting projects that you've completed, such as the time that it took you to complete, the pattern, any notes you have on it. I do have it linked in my what am I trying to say? I have it linked above in my links there to my Etsy shop. I have it in there, and also the link to Amazon. It's in my crafts section. Now for the loopy stitch. It's a fairly simple stitch. It's going to give you these cute little loops as you go through your hat. And all I did was start my first row of loopy stitches, and here's how you do them. You're going to go clockwise. So you're on your peg. You're going to go 1, 2, 3. So you have 4 loops on there. You're going to take the bottom loop. Got to separate them. Take the bottom loop over all 3. You're going to take off the next 2 loops and pull them over to the right side and hold them there. Again, you're going to go following like a clock, clockwise. You're going to knit over, and then you're going to bring the yarn in front of the next peg to lock in the stitch and yarn over. You're still going to work on this peg. So clockwise 3 times, 1, 2, 3. Take the bottom stitch over the top, take the next 2 loops off and pull it to the right. Again, go clockwise around. Yarn over. Bring the yarn in front of the next peg to lock in the stitch and yarn over. You're going to repeat that around about 4 times. I think 4 times will give you like maybe an inch of loopies, and I think that would be great, especially on the size hat that I'm doing, but you may need to adjust for different size hats. Okay, now it's time to make these cute little loopies. So it ends up just like this. So what you're going to do is let's see what peg I'm on. You're going to wrap clockwise. 1, 2, 3. So you have 4 loops on this peg, you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to take the bottom loop over all of them. Okay? Then you're going to take the next loop and you're going to take it off. Oops. The next 2 loops you're going to take off and you're going to lay them to the side. You're going to bring your yarn in front and you're going to knit off again. Then you're going to bring your yarn in front of the next peg and you're going to knit off. Then we're still going to work on this one, the one that we just knitted off. We're going to wrap it clockwise 3 times. Oops, clockwise. 1, 2, 3. Take the very bottom loop and take it over all 3 of them. The next 2 loops you're going to take off, and you're going to lay them to the side. Oops, to the side. You're going to wrap it in front and knit off. You're going to take it to the next peg and knit off. So your little loops are laying to the side. I don't feel like my camera angle was good on that. So you're going to loop it 3 times on the peg. 1, 2, 3. Take the bottom loop and knit over all 3 of them. You're going to take the next 2 loops and you're just going to pull them off the peg and move them to the side. You're going to take your yarn and wrap in front and yarn over. You're going to take it to the front of the next peg and yarn over to lock in the stitch. Then you're still going to work on that same peg. So clockwise, 1, 2, 3. Take the bottom loop over all 3. Then you're going to take the next 2 off, 1, 2, and you're going to lay it to the side. Bring the yarn in front, yarn over, bring the yarn in front of the next peg, yarn over, and then you'll be wrapping counterclockwise on that peg. You're going to do this around 4 times. That's going to give you a nice inch of the little fringe. If you're doing different hat sizes, you may want to increase the number of loopy rows that you have if you want a little thicker fringe on it. So go around at least 4 times, maybe 5, and then on my hat it's just 4, and then I'll meet you back. Now that I've gotten all my loopy rows completed, it's time to complete the brim of the hat. And I think that's where we'll stop this part of the tutorial. So you're going to bring, right now the hat's looking like this with this under bottom. You're going to push that up through the middle. And you're going to take a look at the very edge. And this is in my beginner hat tutorial, but you're going to put the circles, you can see the circles in here, the very ridge. You're going to start putting those on the outside, looping over, and you're going to put that all the way around. And once you get those all the way around, it goes easy once you get the first couple on. You just keep going. Again, this tutorial is in my beginner hat tutorial, the tutorial right before this, and it explains it in great detail, much slower. But let's pretend for a second, I don't want to run out of time in this video. Let's pretend these are all on. You're just going to take those and you're going to loop it right over. So bottom over top, and that is going to complete the brim or the rim of the hat. And then when you get all these on and you loop them bottom over the top, I'll start back at my second tutorial, part 2 of this Cabbage Patch hat, and we'll complete the hat together.